Welcome to the Blues Reaction Show. I'm your host, AJ Nance, and the Blues with a very fun and exciting 2-1 victory versus Calgary last night. Even though there was not much offense on either side, it was a very fun game to watch, and I'm going to break it all down today. Before we get started, make sure to like this video and subscribe if you are watching on YouTube. Of course, if you are listening on Spotify or Amazon Music, make sure to follow the podcast over there and rate us. That would be really I'd be really appreciative of you guys doing that. And of course, go follow us on all social media, on Instagram, on TikTok, at Arch City Sports, even though it seems like TikTok is on its way out. Make sure to go follow on Instagram because a lot of the content is going to continue. All the content is going to continue over there. A 2-1 victory for the Blues, coming off 2 straight losses and coming off of a 2-1 loss to Columbus. A 2-1 win versus the Calgary team, which we are chasing and looking up to in the standings. Coming into this one, we were 5 points behind them in the wild card race, a team that is a lot like us in a lot of ways, not very good offensively, don't have sustained offensive pressure or anything like that. They're very solid defensively though, and very good 5-on-5. And this is a team that's kind of like us in that way. We don't score a whole lot, even though this last couple weeks we have been scoring a lot more. These last couple games we've kind of come back to where we were offensively, and a lot of 2-goal, 1-goal performances these last couple games. So in the first period, in the first minute of the game, like we've done so many times this year, I talked about it, I believe, the last Blues Reaction show. Yes, we score in bunches, but we also score really quickly into games and really quickly into periods, it seems like. In the very first minute of this one, Colton Parayko, his 9th goal of the year. It was coming off of a kind of a first minute where we had the sustained pressure to begin this one. The other night versus Columbus, when I was there, the first 2 minutes or so was all Columbus in our end. We gave it to Calgary in the first minute here. Shen and Fowler with the assist. Shen's 17th assist of the year. Cam Fowler's 11th assist of the year. Colton Parayko's 9th goal along with that. And this is just in the first minute. The rest of the first period, very defensive. It was 1-0 after 1. Second period came along. Very even second period, honestly. Both teams struggled to consistently score, but both teams were very tough defensively. Not a lot of shots on net. Very, very good defensive work by both squads in this one. As I mentioned, Calgary 5 points ahead of us in the wild card race. So this is as close to, and I think John Kelly even said it at the end of the broadcast, a must-win as we had all year long, especially coming off a couple losses in games, in a huge stretch of games where we should be winning these games, some of them handily. 2 losses to Columbus really kind of set us back a little bit, I think, even though Columbus is not a bad team by any stretch. But even with Columbus being a team that's not that bad at all, we definitely believe we should have won at least one of those, if not both of them. It was 1-0 after 2 periods in this one. Colton Parayko's goal was the only one that was standing there. In the third period, I believe it was about halfway through the first period, Kevin Ball with a goal after a very long shift in our end, and we overloaded one side. The puck was caught on one side, and Brandon Saad went with him on that side, even though he should have been in the middle, kind of playing safety on that play. They swung it all the way across the ice to Ball. Ball kind of had a whole minute there to kind of set up what he wanted to do and where he wanted to shoot it on Binnington, and he went low right blocker side on Binnington to tie it up at 1-1. 5 minutes after that, though, as the Blues also do very, very well this year, just continue to come at you in waves and not giving up at all in this one. Radek Faksa, 5 minutes later, a goal-ahead deflection goal from Tucker and Toropchenko, a play where it went low to high to low. Toropchenko on the right side of the ice, a really good entry, stopped on a dime there on the right next to the boards, fired it back to the point where Tyler Tucker was, who put it on net, and a great deflection from Faksa, who was pretty far away from the goalie. It wasn't like he was directly in front of him blocking him off type of deflection. He was a good little distance away. Put the the blade of the stick down, tipped it right over the left shoulder of Calgary's goaltender tonight. And so a huge goal for Foxa, his third goal of the year, a game-winning goal as the Blues, that's all they needed in a 2-1 victory there. The last minute was very exciting, though. The last minute full of action, a 6-on-5, obviously, for Calgary, and 3 huge block shots in the last minute in this one. Jake Neighbors getting down and blocking one. Cam Fowler laying his body on the line. And Radek Foxa, the hero of the night, also with a huge block shot in that last minute of the third period. This is one of those gritty, tough, playoff-like victories for the Blues in this one. These type of games you have to win. Not only everything on the line, when we're looking at chasing Calgary in the standings, but also the fact that these type of games, if you can win these type of games at this point in the season, if there is a playoff, future for the St. Louis Blues, these type of games are going to help you when that time comes, because these are the type of games they're going to play all throughout the playoffs. Those low-scoring 3-2, 2-1 games that's going to come down to little things that happen within the game. And so, love that we got on top early in this one. Love that even after they tied it up, and it was kind of demoralizing in a way to come back 5 minutes later and Foxa get his third goal of the year to tie it up, or to take the lead. I thought that was absolutely awesome from our end. There was a lot of good in this one, a couple bad things, and a couple guys that were kind of invisible in a way in this one. The good in this one, Colton Parayko, who was well deserving of the first star of the night. I thought he was absolutely phenomenal on both sides of the ice. Offensively, obviously, with his goal, and he's getting better and better through every year of his career. And I'm going to break that down in just a second here. But I thought he was the star of the game on both teams, on both sides of the ice. A guy that didn't have any points in this one and wasn't going to stand out when it comes to, goal scoring, or passing the puck, unless you were actually watching the game, was Philip Broberg. And he's one of those guys that every time I see a defensive play, or a play from our defenseman offensively as well, I'm always like, man, who was that? And he turns and I see that number 6, and I'm like, oh, it's Broberg. Who made that really nice hit at center ice? Oh, that's Broberg. Who did a really good job of cutting off that angle defensively? He turns his back. I see that number 6. It's Broberg. It seems like this happens every single night, and I don't think it's talked about enough from, I don't want to say casual fans here in St. Louis, but fans that maybe don't watch every game and watch every minute of every game. Philip Broberg is really, really solid. Tremendous passer, moves extremely well for a defenseman, cuts off angles really well, long arms, long stick as well. So he's really, really had a good year for us, even though the scoring has not been there as much since he came back from his injury as it was beforehand. He is doing things that I saw in person the other night, things that you can just see on TV that stand out that aren't always in the box score. So really nice game from Broberg, and really nice stretch as of late. I think Matthew Joseph also had a really good game in this one. A guy that's been in and out of the lineup and not finding consistent playing time. He looked like a guy, especially defensively, creating hits defensively, but also just being in passing lanes. I thought Matthew Joseph showed an eagerness to be in the lineup, and a sense of urgency from him that he wants to play every single day. And this opportunity that he had versus Calgary last night, it showed that he was not wanting to come into this lineup and not do anything and then be taken out of the lineup again. He wanted to come in, produce in any way he can. He's not going to produce a whole lot offensively, but he can create things defensively for you and be a really solid, hard-hitting, defensive-minded third, fourth line guy for you, and he showed that in this one. I think he deserves to be in the lineup next game. Jordan Binnington goes without saying, 26 for 27 in net, only 1 goal allowed, and the win. Obviously, he was really solid in this one. Didn't have to do anything spectacular, but he was really rock solid in net for us. And last but not least here is another guy that didn't put any points on the board, but I just have to give him a shout-out for his last couple games. His whole season has been phenomenal, and that's Dylan Holloway. I mean, this guy is sneaky with some of the stuff he does. He had a tremendous scoring chance where he kind of toe-dragged it a little bit and went in between the defenseman's leg off the right post. I mean, it was just a beautiful scoring chance that would have been a highlight-level goal if it would have gone in. He's got a sneaky sneaky electric ability to him that I think he's going to be a fan favorite for years to come. The kid's only 23 years old still, and he's got 15 goals already in his first year, first full season, and first year here in St. Louis. So Dylan Holloway, the future is very bright for this kid. So absolutely love how he's been playing all year long, especially as of late. The bad in this one, really the only two that I have to say, and it's not so much in this one alone, but over the last couple weeks, I've really seen that I've not been impressed with. First of all, it's Oscar Sundqvist. I mean, he looks really heavy on his skates. His stick seems like it's not very loose in a way where he doesn't seem very nimble when it's on his stick. And I know he's not supposed to be some offensive creator for you, but defensively as well, he's solid at times, at best. But there's also many situations now where he has had two penalties the other night versus Columbus. He had the penalty tonight. Almost had another one where he's racking up these penalties and he's not creating offensively, and he's just been about solid defensively. He hasn't impressed me a whole lot on that end either, where he's not standing out. Maybe that's a good thing, and I'm going to talk about another player in a second. That maybe it's a good thing that he's not standing out defensively, because maybe, if he was standing out, maybe it's because he's letting up opportunities. So I just think overall, cut down some of those goofy penalties. He had a slashing one tonight, which I'm not super mad at. It was right in front of the net. He smacked down and was trying to prevent a tip-in goal in front of the net in the crease. But overall, I think he can definitely we've seen better Oscar Sundqvist in past years, and I think he can uplift his game a little bit, especially when you guys, I know they're different positions, but you got a guy like Matthew Joseph that can pop down that line, and you can move Nathan Walker to the center position, or even Toropchenko has played a little center. So I don't think just because Oscar has had that history with the Blues, he should have the leeway of always getting ice time. And actually in that third period, his line was completely eliminated from the ice for the majority of the period. We pretty much just ran three lines out there. So I definitely think there's better play from Oscar to come, and I just think maybe he's in one of those little stretches right now where it just does not seem to be going his way, especially when it comes to the penalties being called. Another player that I don't even want to call his play bad either, but it's just not been productive. And for being on the first line, I don't see why you have him up there, and that's Brandon Saad. And I think a huge reason of why he's on that top line with Buchnevich and Thomas is because you want evenly distributed scoring throughout the entire group. And I understand that, but at the same time, I'd rather have a Dylan Holloway on the top line, move Saad down to the third, move Jake Neighbors up to the second line with Kyrou and Shen, and work that way. I don't see a lot of upside with having. I think it takes away from the upside of Robert Thomas when you have a guy like Brandon Saad on that line who's only going to right now giving you about 5-6 goals on the year. I don't see a whole lot of upside having a guy like that next to Robert Thomas, and even Buchnevich, who's not scoring a lot of goals, but is a really good passer and obviously very solid defensively. I might switch it up, especially if we go another game or two without scoring a whole lot like we have these last couple. I would go with Thomas and throw Dylan Holloway and maybe, Booch is fine up there, but you can maybe even throw Jake Neighbors up there with him. Or Kyrou. We haven't seen a whole lot of Kyrou and Thomas together. I think they're obviously trying to, like I said, trying to separate those two so there's a little more depth in our lineup. But I really think you can still have depth with some scoring while also having a really dominant top line. And I think you can have a line that has Holloway and Neighbors on it, but also have a line that has Buchnevich and Kyrou on it, and a line that has Thomas and Shen, or however they want to play it. I know it's Thomas and Shen are both center icemen, but you can have each line have two stars without having that top line having Thomas with Saad next to him. I think you have to optimize who Thomas plays with, to kind of optimize, where Thomas can go offensively for us. But Saad also had that play tonight where he overloaded that one side on the Kevin Ball goal, so that was not a good look. But overall, not a bad game from Saad. He just it kind of fits in that invisible category a lot of times where you don't see him a whole lot. Also, with that invisible category, Jordan Kyrou, One of his most invisible games of the year, I believe. I didn't see him much at all on the ice, not creating many chances, not doing anything poor offensive or defensively either, though. And then Justin Falk, and I mentioned with Oscar Sundqvist, maybe being invisible sometimes is not the worst thing. And I think that's what the case was with Falk tonight. Wasn't seeing him a whole lot in a lot of stuff, but maybe that's a good thing, because if he was very visible defensively, maybe that's not so good. So yeah, Justin Falk, Jordan Kyrou kind of slide into that invisible category for me tonight. But like I said, a gritty, tough, playoff level type victory in this one. 3 stars of the night, and I actually called it out to my wife before they all came out on the ice, and I called it perfectly. Radek Faksa, 3rd star of the night, game-winning goal, his 3rd goal of the season. Jordan Binnington, the 2nd star, 26 for 27 in net, 1 goal allowed, and the victory. And Colton Parayko, a goal and 4 block shots, the 1st star of the night. One of Parayko's most dominant performances of the year, but we've seen several performances like this throughout the season so far from Colton Parayko. I do have to shout him out, though. Colton Parayko, his shooting percentage this year is at 10.5%, which is the highest of his career. His next highest was last year, which was at 6.5%. So a huge jump in offensive production from Colton Parayko. Goals being scored and assists. I believe he's at 9 goals, and I don't have it pulled up right now, but 15 or 16 assists as well. And defensively has been a standout. He might even be an all-star this year. A career year defensively, as I was mentioning there, a standout year. 110 block shots, which leads the team, and he's been a absolute horse on the back end. Heavy minute loads every single night. So huge production this year from Colton Parayko, and a transition period where you had Alex Pietrangelo and Jay Bouwmeester be so good for so long, and we were waiting year after year for Colton Parayko to kind of take that jump to be the next star defenseman for the Blues. I believe he has taken that jump, and he is now the face of that blue line moving forward. And you have nice additions next to him. You have Philip Broberg, and at times Justin Falk's looked really good, even though this year has not been his best. And Ryan Suter's been a great addition to the team. This is a good group, and obviously Cam Fowler. Forgot about Cam Fowler, how good he's been since he came over from Anaheim. So Colton Parayko, career year, has good help around him, but he has been absolutely phenomenal. And that Fowler Parayko connection on that blue line, top line defensively, that top defensive pairing has been lights out since they've been together. So shout out Colton Parayko, man. One of the best players on this team right now, one of the best defensemen defensively in all of hockey, and offensively is adding a little bit as well. So love to see that. That's going to wrap it up for this Blues reaction show. A 2-1 victory. The Blues now 21-20-4 on the season. Next game is Thursday at home versus Calgary, the second game of this little back-to-back series versus Calgary. It's going to be very interesting how that one plays out, because this one, I think both teams offensively, even though both teams are not great offensively, I think they were hiding some of what they could be doing, because they don't want to show everything in game 1 of a 2-game back-to-back and kind of reveal all your tricks before that second game. So I think that second game will be a little more high scoring than this one, but overall I think it's going to be a close one, because both these teams, Blues and Calgary, kind of match up pretty well. And another pretty close to must win. You don't want to go back to 5 games behind them in the wild card. You want to bounce up to potentially 1 point behind them with plenty of the season yet to play. Very, very interesting and very big game on Thursday at home versus Calgary. And I will be back for that Blues reaction show on Friday morning, recapping the Blues. Now, this is Wednesday, and this is the Blues reaction show. And I know there's supposed to be a Billiken reaction show as well, but that Billiken reaction show is going to be moved back to Thursday after their loss versus VCU. So Thursday morning, tomorrow morning, I will be back with a Billiken reaction show, and then back on Friday with the Blues reaction show and our normal Friday episode as well. So make sure to tune in to those. Like this video, subscribe if you are on YouTube. Follow and rate the podcast on Spotify and Amazon Music. And of course, for daily St. Louis sports content, also Mizzou sports content, all over the St. Louis sports scene, high school basketball, all of that, Cardinals, Blues, St. Louis City, SLU basketball, even Battlehawk football coming up here. Make sure to go follow on Instagram, on TikTok at Arch City Sports, especially on Instagram, because like I said, it seems like TikTok is on its way out. So we'll see how that all plays out. But make sure to go follow over there at Arch City Sports for daily sports content here from St. Louis. I will see you guys the rest of this week with the Billikens reaction show on Thursday, the Blues reaction show on Friday, and the normal episode on Friday as well. Everybody have a great rest of the week and tune in for those upcoming episodes.